So now I'm going to talk a bit more about what arises in the body and about how we meet what we contain. It's a very visceral, tangible and real thing that occurs, and we have to have some preparation for it emotionally. So I'll describe some of the things that have occurred within me, how it's been within me. And these are also experiences that I've seen students and healing clients go through. So I know that it's true in the broader sense as well as being personally true for me and also for Rama. In the beginning, when I first started meditating and I closed my eyes, everything was just black. And my thoughts were still racing and my body felt quite dense. Much of what was within me was not in motion. It was quite stuck. I wasn't experiencing it vividly. It was just a density within my body. What I did have was a capacity to empathically feel what other people were feeling, so I could put my hands on them and I would know what they were feeling, and I would be able to track that back inside them to the source of that experience. I also became clairvoyant quite early. In my late teens, early 20s, I began seeing things that were non-physical, and then at about the age of 20, I started having past life bleed through that was uncontrollable. And it was traumatic past life bleed through. It was so bad sometimes that I had to be pushed under a cold shower to get me out of it, to snap me out of it. So I went through a lot of past life torture and death trauma and experiencing the suffering of many people around me at those times. And I knew I needed to find a teacher who could help me, and there was nobody locally who could help me. I just knew that intuitively. And so I started praying for my teacher. And I remember one day I sat in a bath and I filled my bath with crystals to magnify my prayer. And I prayed and prayed and prayed from my heart for my true teacher. Now, I had always had this capacity to feel longing for the divine very powerfully in my heart. It was like my saving grace. It was like a deep, visceral knowing that there was good in the universe and there was truth, and that I just needed to access it more. And I remember even in my teens, in the midst of being very depressed and in many ways very lost, still having moments where my vision through the heart would break through matter, would break through the veil of matter, and I would be able to see, as Joel Goldsmith put it, the mountain behind the mountain. I would be able to see, sense, feel and know that there was a presence, a divine presence in everything, and that I was somehow part of that, inextricably part of that, even though physically and emotionally I was racked with suffering. And so I was driven by this really powerful experience of the duality of worlds within me. One was the world of the real calling me home through my heart, and the other was the world of my suffering in my body, in my emotions, in my mind-body field. And that day I prayed and prayed and prayed for my teacher, because my life and my sanity depended on me finding that teacher. And I let go of all conditions. I had actually been reading Autobiography of a Yogi and really related to it, though I wasn't practicing any meditations really other than some violet fire meditations. I wasn't really part of a tradition. in any anchored kind of way. I'd encountered some teachings of the Ascended Masters and I could feel some truth in there. I was working with the violet fire, but that was really the extent of what I understood. And it wasn't long after that prayer that a dear friend rang me and said, I've met this teacher. She visited New Zealand. She's gone back to her place of residence now in Australia, but next time she comes to visit, you have to go along, Helen. And I just knew that this was the call. And the day I met my teacher, it was like the train had arrived at the station. And she didn't appear in the form that I had anticipated. And she wasn't perfect. And my experience of her was, of course, coloured by my own imprints, by my own samskaras and my own perceptual limitations at the time. But I'm glad I said yes. Because if I hadn't said yes in that moment, I wouldn't have experienced all the things that I've experienced over these last 35 years. And I wouldn't be able to sit here today and speak with you. So, for everything that my teacher wasn't, and for everything that that teaching couldn't give me, it did give me something that helped me to come home and to recognise what home is. And I want to thank my teacher for that, from the bottom of my heart. And I recognise now that it's really important not to judge a teacher or a teaching, but just to have gratitude for the heart of the teaching and for what it brings you, and to not be concerned with the little bits of this and that that aren't the way you hoped they would be or thought they would be. It's always the heart of the teaching that calls you. And the teaching is always direct to your heart, and the entire journey is occurring within you. It's not really between you and the teacher, except that the teacher represents you coming home to yourself. The teacher represents your call, your prayer, your longing to come home. So follow that longing. That longing is true. And when your time with that teacher is done, it's done. And there's nothing wrong with that. Life will always bring you perfectly what you need. Your job is to say yes, to have gratitude, and to open your heart to the journey that is occurring within you. In reality, the journey never goes further than your own mind-body field. You are meeting what arises, and the one who is meeting what arises is the one you have always been. The one who is meeting what arises is the one you have always been. And that one is welcoming you home. And you may come home laughing and dancing. And you may come home kicking and screaming. But in every moment it is love that is calling you home. It is you that is calling you home. So take responsibility right here and now that that is what is happening. That this isn't about the perfect teacher or the perfect teaching. It's about the perfect journey arising within you in every moment of time. And that is totally taken care of by the love that you are. So I'm going to talk a little bit about soul now. What is soul? Soul is your luminous cosmic individuality. It isn't limited to just one personality, which can be confusing for the mind in the beginning. However, this becomes clearer as you enter into consciousness of soul. Soul in the body is experienced as a luminous spaciousness, a love intelligence that encompasses everything that you are. It's the sense of one that is both observing you, carrying you, and is you simultaneously. It is all those things. In the larger experience of the one, the soul is still a small self. It's an intermediary self that is not self with a small s, that is small mind or mind-body field. And it is not the ultimate self with the capital S, that is the everything, the all that is, the nothing from which everything arises and to which everything returns. It is that unfolding luminous love intelligence that allows the personification of the Absolute. It is the intermediary between that which is nothing and everything simultaneously and that which is you sitting in the chair, believing what you believe, thinking what you think, feeling what you feel, and experiencing these sensations in this body. So it is the first gate. Soul is the first gate into the Absolute and the Infinite. And it is also the joy of the Absolute, because it is the Christ nature, it is the Christ child. It is the one who is love becoming in matter, space and time. And soul has an intimate relationship with small self, with little self. Without little self, love cannot unfold. Love needs a lover and beloved. The mother needs the baby and the baby needs the mother. So soul and personality are always interweaving in sacred relationship with each other. And little self is always weaving in sacred relationship with other little selves. And there is no error in this. This is perfect. And you find that the more your body learns to relax into the luminous spaciousness of soul, into this love intelligence, the more the deeper aspects of the universe begin to make sense. Those aspects that appear as a paradox to the mind are no longer a paradox. So, little self and soul are all about love becoming. And between soul and little self is something that I will call light body, and it's very important now that we recognise the existence of light body. And the reason for this is that we're going to be living more in light body than we are in little mind very, very soon. So we are already now becoming acclimatised to the texture of light body, which is transparent to soul and transparent to presence. Now I'll say that again. We're going to be living less in small mind, in the density that we have become accustomed to, in that world of paradox, and the world of object consciousness, the world of separation and lack and struggle, the world of death and loss. And we are, through light body, which is transparent qualities of love, experiencing soul and presence. So, to put that most simply, we are going through a process of integration. The one is integrating with self with a capital S. Between self with a capital S and self with the small s are worlds of vibration and experience of self that are like a stepping down of frequency from absolute to intimate and specific, like a continuum. And as we awaken, we become transparent to that continuum of consciousness and the one from which consciousness arises. So we are being permeated with consciousness. We are being permeated with presence during the awakening process. To do this, we must become more transparent. In our current experience of density, we experience ourselves in object consciousness. We experience ourselves in suffering. And that is about to change within the collective. It's about to change for huge numbers of people. So you know when you have an experience of an illumined master, whether that master is in a physical body or whether they've come to you in a meditation or a vision or an experience of light, that master comes to you in light body. That is how you recognize them. They come in a luminous field of love that is unique to them. It is by our love that we are known. Each of us is love. We are a unique field of luminous love intelligence. We are the infinite personified as love. So the shift of identity that's happening now on earth is a shift away from object consciousness, from ego, from pain body, to the self as love. This self that is transparent to soul and to the presence of the one. The one is capable of being all of it at once, of being nothing and everything simultaneously. It's only our human mind and our mind-body field in object consciousness, in beta frequency, that cannot even conceptualize that. It's always breaking things into individual parts in such a way that if one part exists, then the other part can't. It's always saying, if this, then not that. Whereas the intelligence of the one, the experience of the one is this and that simultaneously, and nothing, and everything, all carried. Everything coexisting. Time and timelessness, self and no self, this and that, all coexisting. And the more we awaken, the more that becomes our experience. And as part of that process, we are invited to release the mind's game of this and that, me and you. Not so that diversity disappears, but so that our imprisonment within object consciousness disappears. So that we become transparent to the truth. We become transparent to the love. We become transparent to the consciousness. and we become transparent to the presence from which everything is continuously arising and into which everything is continuously returning. And it is happening in every microsecond of time. And within that arising and falling away, within the arising and the space between things, there is a continuum of presence, always carrying everything. And you are that. You are that. And in this, our sufferings, our emotions, our thoughts, the fear in the body is gently carried and gradually transformed. And where there has been despair, there comes hope. And where there has been confusion, there comes truth. And where the fog of Maya, the veil of Maya has prevailed, there comes clarity. And where there has been disassociation, where there has been fracture, there comes coherence. And it is into this state of coherence that you are invited in this teaching. And you will find the truth everywhere, all around you. You will find it in the Vedas, you will find it in Buddhism, you will find it in Hinduism, you will find it in Islam, you will find it in Sufism, you will find it in the poetry of Rumi, and you will find it in the silence of your own heart, and you will recognize it. The light will come on, the love will shine, and you will be home. So in the next part of Satsang today, I'd like to invite you into the living practice of turning your attention inwards towards the centre of your being and meeting with compassion what arises, knowing that the entire journey occurs within you.